Hi, I'm Danny, and this is my story. So my faith was impacted in my late teen years and my early to mid 20 years. Leading up to that, life was great, it was dandy. Christian life, everyone views it as this, from the outside, as this perfect Christian life that you have God and family and support. And in my early adulthood, my friends all went away to college, so I didn't have a lot of friends anymore at the time. They were away doing their own thing. I respect that. But for me, it was a little difficult. So in nursing school, my final year, I had a lot of difficulty with that year. It was struggling with trying to pass exams, trying to find a Christian group again. I went to multiple Christian groups at different universities in the area to try to get that fellowship again with just having that Christian support and Christian friends. And they never worked out. If you weren't part of that clique or living on campus, you felt like just the odd man out. So I stopped doing that, and that was very discouraging. That's when in my life, for the first time, I really started to have anxiety, I started having depression, and then with nursing school, the thought of not passing really started taking a mental toll on me. But I did pass, thankfully, and I'm here today still working as a nurse. But that first year of working as a nurse was very difficult. I worked night shift, and I was 20 years old, just turned 21, and my friends are in college, living their life, having fun. And I'm responsible caregiver working full-time as a nurse, and it was very difficult. And during those times, in that part of my life, I got into a very bad relationship. At the time, it seemed like it was great, but we were unequally yoked. We had different religions, which I didn't think anything of it. I just thought we'd work past that one day. We love each other, this will be great. But we were very young and naive. And that's when everything kind of started spiraling out of control. I started developing an eating problem. I would put on 40 pounds in 6 months, and then I would lose it all and more. And there's a lot of eating issues that happened at that time. With the relationship as well, with the stress of that, with school, because I was going for my bachelor's at the time too, with school, and then with my job as a nurse, I just spiraled out of control, and I started becoming suicidal with my thoughts. I did not act on them at the time, but it was something that was there. It was, well, if this doesn't work out, what's the point of going on? If this doesn't work out, what are you going to do? If this doesn't work out, you're done. And I stepped away from my faith for a while during that period because I was praying, I was doing books from Charles Stanley, I tried doing the ministry for young men at the different universities, and it just didn't sound like it was working. But looking back at that, it was because I was trying to do it on my time and not God's time. It was, I wanted a solution now, God. I wanted an answer now. Do I stay in this relationship, and how do I get out? How do I balance work with all of this? And it just started piling up and piling up and piling up. And then one day I decided this was enough. And I had everything set up to end my life. So I was suicidal, I had everything ready to go. I was ready to act, and it was a method where it would have worked 100%. And I remember just sitting there, and I remember I just was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. There's no way, there's gotta be something more positive. But, being at that point very overweight compared to what I was, having these insecurities, not having friends, it was difficult to be that positive. And probably the lowest point of my life is when I forgot to get rid of it, but my parents found my suicide note. And seeing my twin brother and sister and parents crying was the worst thing you could ever experience in life. So that just hit me that I was also being a little selfish, and that was eating up at me all the different emotions I had, that I was being selfish, but I needed people to understand that even though I have this perfect life growing up, I'm struggling with my inner self. So my parents got me up with a therapist that I started seeing. His name was Vitor, and he helped me with my eating problems. He helped me with my suicidal thoughts that I was experiencing, my anxiety, my depression. And during that time frame with my relationship as well, that was kind of the cherry on top. I had to get that addressed. And unless you're in a very committed relationship, a lot of people don't understand how difficult that is trying to get out of one. And looking back, there was a lot of verbal, I don't want to say abuse, but a lot of things that were said to me that just destroy your self-esteem, destroy your character, that just was not healthy. And my friends and family saw that as well, and they were telling me it over the past year, that they saw this character in my partner. And he said, get out, you gotta get out of this. And my therapist, my counselor, he was very real. Finally, one day he just said, Danny, therapists aside, you need to get out of this. This needs to stop. It's been almost a year. So on day 364 out of that relationship, I finally was in the room with my brother and my mom, and they said, you need to just end this right now. And I ripped off the Band-Aid, I ended the relationship. It seemed like it was the worst thing in the world, but my buddy Jeff was there for me that same day. He was the first person I called and said, I need to come over to your house. And from there, it was great because then I was able to lose the weight. I was able to get back to my baseline weight. I started seeking help with my eating as well to try to get that issue under control, because a lot of people don't view that for men, that they have that issue, but it exists and it's real. I continued to see my therapist as well. I kept doing the self-help books. I tried getting involved with the church again. I got a new job at the time too, which was great. And just looking back at that dark time of my life with the eating, the depression, the stress, the anxiety, the suicidal thoughts, how God worked in that was that I really just think that he kept putting those godly characters in my life to encourage me, because if they were not there from early on in life, the people I met in youth group, Trevor and Jeff, and even earlier at Faith Fellowship, if those people weren't around, I don't know if I'd be sitting here doing this video with you right now. I don't know. And if God wouldn't have given me such amazing parents, brother, sister, I might not be here right now. I could have acted on it instead of stopping and seeking help. So looking back at that, the support that God built over the years was essential for me. It was an absolute must. And if I could tell anybody that's going through any of that struggle right now, talk to me, seek help, talk to a friend, a family member, call me, text me, whatever you have to do, let me know, because it's a real issue. But that was a very dark part of my life, and I'm very glad it's over.